Hey guys, Bitmasters over here coming back at you with another tutorial. In today's tutorial, I've had a lot of people over the years ask me, how do you write a multi-threaded server socket in Delphi and accept multiple connections, etc., etc. I'm not going to do any multi-threading today, but I am going to show you guys how you can create an async socket server and accept client socket connections and be able to communicate with them and manage them in memory. So to get things started, let's go ahead and start with the client. So I'm going to grab a button component. Okay, I'm just going to slap it down on the form here, and I'm going to label it set mic and connect. Okay, and for this to work, we're going to need us an edit box. So I'm going to grab an edit box. I'm going to clear the text out of it, and I'm going to make this kind of long, I guess. I don't really care about the design. I'm just going to make the caption of the form client socket, and then we're going to grab ourselves a client socket off of the Internet tab. So whenever we click the button, which I'll make it a little bigger, when we go into the buttons code here, we're simply going to say self.client.host. It's going to be set to localhost. And we're going to set the port to 3434. And we're going to open the connection. So we set up the host name, the port, and then we're going to connect to the server. Okay? And that will pretty much be that, except for when the client socket receives data from the server, we're going to simply put that as the caption. So that's that. So when we receive data from the server, we're just going to throw it up in the caption of the form. Okay? So our client's already done. We're literally finished, like literally 100% done. So I'm just going to release this, and I'm going to build this, and then we're going to go work on the meat of the program, which is the server. Okay? So client's done. Now we're just going to focus on the server. Okay? Actually, there is one more thing. On the client endpoint, when we do manage to actually connect, let's go ahead and tell the client that whenever it does connect up, we want it to go ahead and send some information to the server, including our nickname. So what we'll do is just say self.clientsocket1.socket.send text, and then inside of this, we're going to do a command handler that the server is going to receive a new con, or a new connection, right? And we're going to put a pipe there, and then our nickname. And then we're going to set the actual edit to disable. That way we can't type anything in it and stuff like that. And another thing, we'll also say just some graphical interface stuff to make it look more neat. Okay, so whenever the client socket does connect to the server, we're going to send new con as the command, and then we're going to send our nickname over to the server, so the server knows who we are. Okay? Now the client is completely finished. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to build the executable. I clicked compile, but oh well. We'll come back to it. Okay, so now we're on the server. So on the server's endpoint, we'd like to create a list view. That is, if I can spell correctly today. We're going to create a list view, and we're also going to need a status strip. So we're going to grab ourselves a simple Win32 status strip. We're going to go to the panel editor, and we're going to put two different things on this status strip. We're going to put the status of the server, and we're going to put how many people are connected. So on this first portion here, I'm literally just going to put server status in -a, because it's not applicable at first. We're not doing anything. I guess to make that more readable for people, I could put offline. And then on this one, we're going to put clients online, and I'm going to put it like this. We're going to select these, make the width on them probably about 150, and then we're going to stretch this out, make it look nice and pretty and neat, or as best we can anyway. And we're going to create a couple of different columns on this thing. So the first column is going to be, we're going to put IP address of the person that connected in, and then we're going to put their nickname. Okay, and we're going to select this, we're going to auto size both, and then we're going to change the view style of this list view to VS report. So now, as you can see, we've got something a little nicer to look at, right? So in order to get this to go just how I want it, I'm going to pull it over a little bit left. Okay, everything looks to be pretty good. I'm going to rename the caption of this form to TServerSocket with multiple clients connected. That's good enough, I guess. So we're going to need ourselves a TServer off of the Internet tab, so I'm going to grab that and throw it on there. By the way, I don't recommend using these sockets. They're utter trash. They've been around for over 50 years, and they're for legacy-based stuff only, but this is only a tutorial, so I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, so now then we're going to need ourselves a pop-up menu. So we're going to grab a pop-up menu, throw it down, assign that pop-up menu to the list view, and then we're going to go into the pop-up menu, and we're going to make a caption here called send hello to all clients. And then we're going to come down to this one, and we're going to say send hello to selected client only. Okay, so now then, let's go ahead and save this. So what we essentially have now, let's go ahead and come down to the positioning of this application. So when it runs, I want it to show in the center of the screen. And I want to do the same with the client. So on the client, I want to go down and do the same thing. So look for position, and I want that to be center screen. And I'm going to save that and go back over to our stuff we're working on here. Okay, so on the server endpoint, it's time to go ahead and do a few things. Number one, we want to go into the code, and we actually want to set a global variable. So we're going to set a global variable for total clients. And for this, I'm going to make it to where when the form creates, so when our program first runs, we're just going to set that to nothing, because no one should be connected automatically, right? And underneath that, what we can essentially do is go ahead and begin working on, actually setting up like our stuff. So our server socket needs to start listening. We're going to type self .serversocket1 port is going to be 3434. If you remember correctly from our client endpoint, we're going to make that 3434 to connect. So we have to be listening on 3434 for the client to be able to connect to the server. Self.serversocket1 open to start listening. So that should be good. Now, what you also want to do is self.statusbar1.panel0.text is going to be equal to something now. Sorry guys, my spelling is horrible today. So down here we said server status is offline. So whenever the server is actually listening, we want that to be server status online. And that's pretty much that. The other thing can remain the same because there's no one connected until something happens. So whenever somebody does actually connect in and do stuff, we'll change that here in a minute. So taking it step by step, on the ServerSocket's events, we're going to see that we have all this stuff down here like client read, error write, listen, thread start and end, and all this stuff. We're only going to be focusing on two of these. That's going to be the client disconnect and the on read event procedure. So in order to get this going, we need to create some stuff. So let's go to the very top here of our code window, where we're going to have to declare a new type record. So what I'm going to do basically just come down right below where it has all your uses and stuff and declare another type here. For this type, I'm going to call it TClientData, and this is going to be equal to a record, okay? So inside of that record, I'm going to do Control D. So inside of our record, I'm going to have one piece of information, user name, which is going to be a type string, okay? This is going to help us keep up with all the people that are connected to our server, okay? So now that we have that, and we also have our other globally declared variable for how many people are going to be on, we can kind of start to get going at this point. So whenever we head back over here to the server socket, I'm going to go to its events, and I'm going to do the onRead event. So on the onRead event procedure of our server, we're going to have to declare a few things for variables, and then we're going to program our command structure to be able to receive information from the client. So I'm going to set a variable up here, or a variable declaration, so we can start declaring a few variables. The first one we're going to want to do is client data, which is going to be a pointer. And I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with pointers in memory, but Delphi is one of those languages that you can go as low as you prefer, and I love using pointers because it's fast, it's easy, and it gets things done extremely fucking quick. So we're going to use a pointer to our, and let me scroll up so you can see this, we're going to use a pointer to our record, okay, which is in memory, all right? So on this, we're going to do the up caret to declare a pointer to our record, which is, what was it called again? It's called TClientData, right? And then we're going to come down and we're going to declare a string list. And then we're going to declare a list item, if I can type correctly. So that's pretty much the only three things we're going to need for this. I'll explain as we move along. The string list and the list item. The string list is for receiving commands from the client. We're going to put all of that stuff into a string list, and we're going to loop through it and parse it, and we're going to do some really cool stuff with that. But the li is a t-list item. Now this is what represents stuff that can go into this list view. So the person's IP address and their nickname, right? So down below here, we're going to simply do SL, which is equal to the t-string list we just created in memory, and we're going to say :equals t-stringlist.create. And then we're going to say the SL.delimiter is going to be a pipe, and then SL.strictDelimiter will be true. And then we're going to say .delimitedText is equal to the socket.receiveText. So whatever the information comes from the other endpoint, that's what we're delimiting inside of our, using our string list, okay? So down below here, I'm going to put if SL0 is equivalent to something, which in our case is new con from the new connection thingy from our client endpoint, then we're going to start doing something here. So we're going to have to create, for every single person that connects in, we have to create their record in memory along with whatever username that they'd like to give to the server, so we can hold this in memory. So essentially we're creating a list of people in memory. Every single time somebody creates, we add more to that memory, and we can loop through it really, really fast, and it's really helpful when managing multiple clients. Tens, hundreds of thousands of users potentially. Of course, not with these sockets because they're trash, but this is just a general idea of things. So in the new con section, we're going to create a new, and then inside of this, we're going to create a new client data, which is basically just a new record for this person, right? So we're going to say client data dot username is going to be equivalent to SL1. Oops, SL1, like that. And then we're going to set socket.data is equivalent to client data. And then what we're going to do is say li is equivalent to form1.listview1.items.add, and then we're going to say the caption of this is actually going to be SL, actually not that, we're going to do socket.remoteAddress, and then we're going to go li.subitems.add, and in this we're going to do SL1. Okay, and now we're going to have to add, so let me put in a comment here, create a new record placeholder for the newly connected client, and then down here add the newly connected client to our list view component, and then down below increase the number of connected clients on our server. So for this, and we'll just do whatever we had named our global variable for total clients, so it's total clients. So total clients equals self.total clients plus 1. So now we come down below and we're going to say self.statusbar1.panels1.text is equivalent to something. Now I'll have to go back and look because I always forget. So down below we have clients online and then the number. So, and keep in mind, using this format is clients online, colon, and then this stuff. So make sure that we do it in the same way. So it'll be clients online, and then I'm going to do plus, and actually I'm going to put one of these right here, and then plus int to string total clients, and I'm just going to erase the self part, we don't actually need it. And then I'm going to do like this, plus, like that, and that's that. So I've added 1 to total clients, and then I've updated the panel to represent that information. And everything looks pretty good, right? So I'm going to hit save. And that should essentially do it on that. So now what we can be focused on is on the disconnect event procedure. So let's go to the servers on disconnect event procedure. And as you can see, it creates the code for us. We are going to need a couple of variables here. So what I'm going to do is type var, and then down inside of this, we're going to go client data, and we're going to again create a pointer to our TClient data. And then we're also going to make I an integer because we're going to need an I here, an integer for looping. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is say client data is equal to socket.data. Then we're going to say for I equals 0, and we're going to start looping around this stuff. So we're going to loop the active connections. So we're going to say, actually, you know what? We're actually going to loop the list view instead, since that is a good representation of where they're going to be anyway. So we'll just do form1.listview1.items.count minus 1. This is generally how stuff is done in Delphi. So we're going to do that. We'll just do Control D to make that line up nice and pretty. So basically we're going to do if form1, and we're going to say listview1.items, let's just do I here, dot subitems 0 is equivalent to client data.username, then begin in Control D just to make it look nice. And right here we will do form1 dot, I'm trying to think here, guys, I'm sorry, I'm doing this literally from scratch right out of my head. So once we get to this point, we're just looping through them. Yep. So all we got to do is say listview1.items I dot delete. Then we're going to go socket.data will be equivalent to nil, and then we're going to dispose of our client data record memory that we've just used, and then we're going to break because there's no reason to continue looping through this stuff. Okay, so let me save that, and then let's go ahead and try to go back to our form, because there's one more thing really we will have to do, and that is program these buttons. So in the pop-up menu, I'm going to double click the pop-up menu, bring it up, and we've got two selections here. One is for being able to send information to all the connected clients, and the other is to be able to send to only one selected client. So let's start out with a broadcast message. So inside of this, we're going to be able to, with this code right here, we're going to use this to send to everyone. Okay, so for example, let's see if we can get this rolling. Okay, so this really is really quite simple. I'm just going to make one variable here called I for an integer. And I'm going to say, we'll just do, first of all, check if we selected anyone, and if not, exit and do nothing. So if self.listview1.selected equals nil, then exit, because if we didn't select anybody, we don't want anything else happening. And then we're going to say for I equals 0, 2, and we're going to use the max amount of people that are connected to the socket. Let me think about this just a minute, guys. It's going to be self.serversocket1.socket.active connections. Yeah, there it is. -1. So we'll just do every single person that's connected to the server socket. We're going to do something, and I'm going to put a begin and an end here. So we're going to broadcast a message out to everyone connected to our server. So here we can simply put self.serversocket1.socket.connections I.sendText, and then we're just going to write hello. Okay. I'm actually going to put hello, this is a broadcast message. We'll just do it like that, okay, guys? So I'm going to save this, and then we're going to go back to our thing because we're done with that. And we're going to do this again, but this time we're going to send the message only to the person we have currently selected in our list view. So on this one, we're going to go here, and we're going to do a little bit more work this time around, but let's go ahead and type var to create some variables. We want a client, which is going to be a T-custom winsock. And then we're going to make I as an integer, and then we're going to do client data. Again, we're going to make another pointer to our T client data, and then we're going to come down here and say if no one is selected, then we can just exit and do nothing. Oh, again, just a safety precaution for what we've got going on here. Let's see. Sorry about that, guys. I misspelled socket at the end. It's T-custom winsocket. So I'm calling client a T-custom winsocket. So down here we're going to say if self.listview1.selected equals nil, then exit. If not, we're going to do some programming. Okay, great. So we're going to say for I is equal to 0, 2, and we're going to say self.serversocket1.socket.active-connections -1 do begin. Okay, so I'm going to hit Control D to make this all pretty for us, and we're going to put, let's see here, client will be equivalent to the current connection that we're looping over, so we're going to say self.serversocket TServerSocket1 socket.connections, and then that's going to be the one that we're actually looping over. Then we're going to say client data is going to be equivalent to the client.data, which is the pointer to that socket. We're going to say if assigned client data and client data dot username is equal to self dot this v1 dot selected dot subitems 0, then begin end. Control D to make that look a little nicer. And we're going to come down into this nested if loop here, and we're going to put client.sendText, and then we're going to put hello just to you. Okay? And then we're going to do break, because there's no sense in continuing to loop over 9 million people if they're connected. There's no point in that crap. Okay, I do believe we're finished now, guys. So let's save this, and let's just see like what we can do. And again, I haven't really. I think this is pretty much it. Let's just give it a run and just see what happens. Okay, so I'm allowing this through my local firewall there for Windows. Looks like we were able to click on these, no problems. So we're going to keep this up. I'm going to head over to the client. We're going to run the client, and then we're going to pull open the server and just take a look at it. Let's name this guy Jimbo. Okay, and then let's try to connect Jimbo. Okay, looks like Jimbo connected, and we have one person online. That actually seems pretty cool. Actually, real quick though, guys, let's head back over to our server and do the on disconnect again, because I actually did forget one part. Let's make sure that at the end of this, whatever does happen, we want to come in through here, and I'm going to copy this same code down here that we put in for adding someone. We're going to use the same code to basically update the GUI here as well, but instead of adding one, because they're disconnecting, we're going to minus one. Okay, so I hope you guys understand that's really basic stuff. I'm going to click run and we're going to get our server up and running, and then I'm going to pop over to the client, and I'm actually going to run a couple of these. So let's you can see I've got two clients here, and then I've got my server running, and we're just going to connect Jimbo, and we'll connect, how about Lucy or whatever. So Lucy's connected, Jimbo's connected, and then I'm going to select the first one here, which is Lucy, and I'll just right click and we're going to send hello to all clients. So when I click this, the server should automatically loop through everyone and send a text to everyone connected. So I'm going to send hello to all clients. And as you can see, both Jimbo and Lucy received the message. You see that? It said, hello, this is a broadcast message. So let's try on Jimbo, but I don't want to send a broadcast message again. Instead, I actually want to send only to him, and I want to send that different message. And as you can see, it says, hello, just to you. And now we can try it on Lucy as well. So only to that selected client, and boom, there you go. Now, if Jimbo disconnects, or if Lucy disconnects, so let's try Lucy. If Lucy disconnects, like if they close out or if they turn their computer off, they go bye-bye from the list of people. You see that? And the clients moves down because there's only one person connected. So if I close him out, then it says 0 people are online. Pretty darn cool, right, guys? All right, guys, so to continue on with this, I'm going to take you guys through this step by step. I'm not going to leave you in the dark, and I'm going to explain how every single piece of this works. I really hope that some of you guys will take stuff from this, and I'll see a lot more Delphi developers in the future developing networked applications. So although these sockets are really crappy and cruddy and are only built for Microsoft Windows because they're winsock wrappers, I will be doing other tutorials showing off other socket libraries that'll work multi-OS, like on Mac, Linux, iOS, Android, and Windows. But for now, let's go ahead and continue with this. I'm going to go through this code on both sides, and I'm going to explain how every single piece of this works. So we're going to start with the client because it's the most simplistic, okay? So on the client side, in fact, in any program you write, just remember, guys, programming is like telling a story. If you're really good at telling stories, chances are you're going to be a really good programmer, because everything in programming executes line by line. So if you're really good at starting out telling a story, and if you get all your details straight, like I did every bit of this from scratch and right from my memory. I just thought it up in my mind, and I wrote it, and it worked the very first time I clicked the run button. I didn't have to second guess myself. I didn't have to do any of that. You guys can be the same as me if you'll just focus on what you're doing. So let's get started on this. So the program for the client, I just simply drug three things to the form: a button, an edit, and a socket component, a client socket specifically, because this is the client, right? So what I wanted to do was make it to where we could type in a person's nickname, or a nickname for this client, and I wanted it to be able to allow us to make the client socket connect to the server and then forward that information. So let's go ahead and take a look at the code, at what we've got here. So inside the code window, quite literally, the client program only consists of about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 lines of code. Literally 8 lines of code made our entire client. So when we click the button, we set the client's host to localhost. Now you could also change this to 127.0.0.1 if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter. I was lazy, so I just typed the word out, localhost, which should resolve directly to your local loopback IP address, which is 127.0.0.1. So we set the host up. We told the client that we want it to connect on port 3434, and then we told the client to basically open itself up and connect. That's basically what we did. We set up a connection in 3 lines of code. Easy peasy. Now, when the client actually does connect, this event will fire. Okay? So when the client actually does sense that it is connected to a TCP server, then these lines of code are going to execute line by utter line. See what I mean? So the first thing to happen is we're going to send some text over to the server saying, hey, we're a new connection, and this is our name. Because remember, the edit1.txt, that's where we typed in our nickname. Okay? So we're going to connect, and then we're going to send text, hey, this is a new connection, and this is the person's name. Okay? Then I'm disabling the edit so we can't type anything into it, and I'm also disabling the button so we can't keep trying to connect over and over and over again and cause problems. And I'm also setting the caption of the button to connected to show to the user that, hey, we are in fact indeed connected to the server. And then on the client's read event procedure, this is whenever the client socket receives data of any kind. It doesn't have to be just text data. It can be string text. It can be different, like an integer variable type. It can be an array of bytes. It can be an array of literally anything. I mean, you could literally be streaming audio and video across these sockets if you wanted to. You can make a desktop screen sharing program if you wanted to. It could be anything you like. But in this particular case, all we are doing is receiving some text. So I'm saying self.caption is equal to whatever text the socket receives. Okay? Self.caption is the same as typing form1.caption. So it's just the form's caption, whatever's up here. Right now it's client socket. So whenever this client socket receives data, I'm just saying show whatever text that the socket received up here in the form's caption. Okay? And that is the entire client socket. That's the entire client's endpoint. We're done as far as that explanation is concerned. So let's move to the server. All right, so on the server, this is kind of the meat of our application, because the server is responsible for handling a lot more than just simply connecting and sending a byte of data or something like that. No, the server has much more involved with it. So it has to not only accept connections, it has to listen, it has to manage each each client socket in memory. It has to be responsible for receiving things from different clients. It has to be responsible for looping through the memory that it holds and actually locking onto specific clients and sending data to them. It also has to have the ability to broadcast to everyone. And it has to do this all very, very quickly and accurately and use as less memory as possible and be able to hold potentially tens, hundreds of thousands of connections. So that for that reason, the server requires a bit more programming. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got here. So what I drug to the form was a list view component, and in the list view component, I made two columns, which as you can clearly see, we have IP and client nickname. And I set the list views property on its view style to VS report, so that way we can actually see the two columns displaying on screen. So we've got an IP address, and that's going to be the remote IP address of the connecting client. And then we have the client's nickname, like whatever they call themselves, right? And then we have a server socket, obviously, to be able to accept client socket connections and manage everything. And then we have a pop-up menu. The pop-up menu has two things inside of it, two different selections. You can choose to send to all clients or send to only the selected person on the list view. And then we have a status strip component, or a status bar, excuse me, which is also comprised of two different, I guess you'd call them pages or columns, whatever you want to call them. They're called panels specifically, but I put the first one to our server status and the second one to the clients online and the amount that are going to be there. I put 0 to begin with because obviously our program's not even running, so no one's connected. So whenever the program runs, let's go to our code here. So at the very top, whenever we're looking at this, we had to create a type record to hold information of each connected individual, each connected client. So I made a new type of record called TClientData, and I set a username as the only thing underneath it. Now, guys, you could easily add to this. Like, you could put as much stuff as you want down here. It could be their GPU, it could be their OS, it could be anything. You could just keep this going for 5,000 miles long if you really wanted to. But since this was just an example, I just put username. That way we can have some sort of identification to be able to loop through and find just the person we're looking for and be able to talk to and from them, right? So this is exactly what it is. It's just a record, and it holds one thing, their username. That's it. Now, when you just type it in like this, it's nil. It's null. It's void. There's nothing here. We haven't actually done anything with it except declare it. It's later down below that we start working with this stuff. So the next thing I put in was total clients. This is just a simple public variable that is going to hold an integer value. I didn't expect tens of billions of client socket connections, so I made it type integer, which is like 0 to, I don't know, 255 billion, something like that. I don't know. But this gets the job done for this example. And the integer will display down at the bottom. So let me show you the GUI again. So you see how we've got 0 in there right now? Whenever people connect in, I just increase the variable and decrease the variable when they disconnect. So down below, this is the first thing to happen when a Delphi program is executed. The form will create. That's if it's a VCL Windows application. So on the form create, I'm setting the total clients, which is the integer that we declared up here I just talked to you guys about. I'm setting it to 0. I mean, come on. Obviously, there's nobody connected. Our program just executed. So there couldn't possibly be anyone connected because it wasn't running, and B, it wasn't listening either until we ran it. So then we're setting the server socket's port variable to 3434, which if you'll remember on the client, if we try to connect, we set it to 3434 whenever the client socket tries to open itself and connect. So the server has to be listening on that same exact port number in order for the client socket to make an actively established server. So total clients is 0, port number is 3434, and then we start listening for connections on that port. And then we're going to update the panel on the left at the bottom to say, hey, we are currently listening for connections, we're online, right? So if you look back at the graphical interface, you see how it says server status offline? So like just right now at design time, it's offline because it's not actually doing anything. But when the program runs, it's going to turn online after we start listening on port number 3434 on the server. So that's why that's there. Now, let's move down. Let's go to the next thing, which would be, let me think about this real quick. We'll click on the server socket and go to events. So whenever the server receives a connection from a client, and we did this on read. So you guys are probably like a little bit curious. You're probably thinking, well, why the hell not just use client connect to do that? Well, the thing is, we could have done it, sure, fine. But the way that I prefer doing things with these specific sockets, it's actually better, or at least in my view, to do it on the read event procedure. You get a little bit more control out of it, and you have to send data in a specific way for it to be like on connect, so it can be a little irritating at times. So that's why I always leave stuff on read. So on the on read event procedure, we are creating a pointer to our record. Now, if you remember, all the way at the top of the code here, our record is TClient data, and it holds a username inside of itself. So down here on the onRead event procedure, we're creating client data, which is going to be a pointer to that record. Now, it doesn't do anything until we create a new piece of memory to go into that record. And then we're creating a string list. Now, what is a string list, you guys might be asking? Okay, let me show you kind of what a string list is. This is a string, so I could put hi, and then I could put like hi, whatever. That is a string list. It's just a big long thing of strings. Okay. So let me put it to you like this. Let me erase this out. I'll tell you what. Let's finish this last one. This is a list item. A TList item is a variable type that allows you to put an item into a list view component. So the li is going to be us putting the person into the list view component for the IP address and the nickname. Okay, so now let's go back to the string list where I was teaching you guys about that. So we're going to create the string list first. Then we're going to say the delimiter for the string list is a pipe. Okay. Now, if you guys remember, head over to the client. You see how I put newcon and then pipe and then the user's nickname? So check this out. We set the delimiter to pipe, and then we set strict delimiter to true. That just means there can't be any spaces, and there can't be like anything like this. Like it won't work. It'll only strictly work with just a pipe because I set it to strict delimiter. And then I said that the delimited text is going to be whatever data the server gets from the client. Now, what's the server getting from the client? Let's check it out. It's getting newcon, and it's getting their nickname, right? So on the server side of things, if SL0 equals newcon, now let me explain this. So I'm going to make a comment here. Now this is what we're receiving. We're receiving newcon, and then we're getting a pipe, and then we're getting the person's nickname, right? Something like this, right? So guys, check this out. It's really simple to understand. This is placeholder 0, and this over here is all placeholder 1. So the newcon command is 0 because it's on the left side of the pipe. This is also known as string delimitation or string delimiting in programming. Almost everybody that writes in a computer programming language knows this. Very basic stuff. So the person's nickname is actually 1. Now, if I had more commands to issue, I could put another pipe, something else, pipe something even else, and then blah, 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 or whatever, right? So this would be 0, 1, this would be 2, this would be 3, and this would be 4. You see what I'm getting at, guys? You can just keep it going and going and going and going. But in this case, we didn't do that. We didn't have to worry about that crap. We just did two things. So we don't care about this. All we care about is 0 and 1. So down below, I'm saying that if the string list's 0 param is newcon, which is what we received from the person, and it should be 0 because it's newcon is on the first thing that we get. Computers count from 0. I'm saying if you receive the command newcon, this is where we're going to create a new record. Okay, we're going to set their username to SL1 on the server. So what was 1? It was the person's nickname that they sent over to us, right? So I'm saying client data.username is equal to SL1, which we received from the client. And then I'm setting socket.data. Socket is part of this procedure. It's the current socket connection that we're messing with. You kind of get that, how it connects together, right? It's a T-custom WinSocket, and it's all in the procedure that the socket generated. So, or well, the procedure generated for this socket. So I'm saying socket's data is equal to our newly created client data record pointer. And then I'm adding that person to the list view. And then after I've added that person's remote address and their nickname to the list view component here, then I'm coming down and I'm adding 1 to our total clients, and I'm updating the panel to display how many people are connected to us. So check it out. Down below, I'm saying clients online 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, however many people we got connected. And that's what happens here at this selected code at the bottom. So guys, it's really that simple. So then we're done with the on-client read and whenever they connect in. So now the only thing left to really do is manage them on disconnect. So whenever we come over to the events of the socket on disconnect, we have the following code. We have another pointer to our data record, which is our client data. So if, again, like this right here, we have client data, username, that's it, right? So whenever someone disconnects, we're creating a record pointer to that. We're creating an integer for looping. And I'm saying that the client data that we have a pointer to is equal to whatever socket here in this procedure that we're currently talking with, the actively disconnecting person becomes our record that we're looking at. You get that? So then I'm saying loop through all of the people inside of this component. So if we had 5,000 people, it would loop through all 5,000 people in less than a millisecond. Boom. Really quick. So if the list view items I that we're currently looping over, subitem 0, which is their nickname, is equivalent to the client data that we're looking at's username, then that's the person we're looking to delete because that's the person that's disconnecting. So we're going to say the list view items I that we're currently looped over, delete it, meaning boom, delete it off. We don't want it anymore. That person's gone bye-bye. They disconnected from our server, right? Then we're going to set the socket's data property to nil to free up some memory. And then we're going to dispose of the client record that we were messing with to loop through, just so we're also making sure to keep our memory clear so we don't cause memory issues. And then, so all of this was the process of looking at the person and deleting them out of our list. And then at the bottom, we're just updating the count again at the bottom, like right here for the clients online. It's the same exact code. Except instead of adding a person, since the person is disconnecting, we're just minusing 1, you see? And then we're going to break out of the loop. The reason we have a breakpoint here is because what if there's 10 million people connected? Would you really want to sit here and go through boom, 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 10 billion times or however many people you got connected? Because if you actually found the person and then it like worked and you deleted them and you updated the count, you wouldn't want to continue to do this. If you found the person, you would want to break out of the loop. That way you're not wasting CPU cycles. Not to mention it wouldn't make any sense anyway because you wouldn't want to keep minusing 1 every time, like something was done and it wasn't done properly. You would just get negative numbers like 10 billion and it'd be all wrong. So once you find the actual person that you're looping over, you decrease the value, and then you break out of the loop. That way you don't continue doing useless crap. You see what I mean? So that's it. And then there is this. So on this part of the code, where we go into the pop-up menu, you have two things: send to all clients and send to one client that's currently selected. So this is a broadcast command, and this is a send to single client command. Let's look at the broadcast command. The broadcast command is really simple to understand. I just created an integer for looping. We're then going to say that if we didn't select anyone inside of the list view, we're just going to not do anything. That's all that says, basically. If no one's selected, we're going to exit and we're not going to continue. Other than that, we're looping through everyone and sending hello. This is a broadcast message. It's that simple. We're just saying for I is equal to 0 through every single person connected to us, -1. This in looping in Delphi, -1, the index is off by 1 at the end because we started from 0. So you have to do -1. Otherwise, you'll get an error at the end of the code loop. So basically, by minusing 1, we equal it out, and it's every single person that's connected to the socket. Okay. So then I'm just saying send everyone that we're looping over, the current person we're looping over, send him some text saying, hello, this is a broadcast message. That's it. So then the next one we do, which is going to be the send hello to the selected client only, this right here, we create a client, which is a T-custom WinSocket. We create an integer for looping, and we create our client data record pointer so that we can look at their stuff and get their information and see if they are truly the person that's selected and that we want to send to. So again, if we didn't select anyone, we're just going to exit, okay? And then we're going to create I as 0 to active connection. So we're literally looking at everyone that's possibly connected, okay? We're looking at everyone. However, we're going to go down into a nested statement and actually look at who we're sending to, and we're going to say, if they're the person we want to send to, then send. If not, we're not going to do anything. So I said client is equivalent to the connection that we're currently looping over, the person that we're actually looping over, right? Client data becomes that person's data that's inside the socket. If assigned client data and client data's username is equivalent to the person that we selected in the list view, then we send hello just to that person. And afterwards, we also break out of the loop. That way we don't loop over 9 million people if there's 9 million people connected. And that's it, guys. That's how simple this stuff is. That is literally it. That is the entirety of this entire program. I have just explained practically every line. So I really hope you guys understand. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever, let me know in the in the video comment section, and I'll be happy to answer anything. And if you guys need me to, I can write up many different more tutorials for stuff like this. In fact, I plan to do so in the near future, hopefully, messing with other socket components and stuff. And oh, by the way, also, I'll go ahead and run this again. So here, let's give it a little bit of a theme. Let's go to Project Options, and let's give the server just a little gusto. You know what I mean? So let's go to Appearance. Let's give it Carbon theme, and now that looks a lot better. And then I'll do the same with this one. So let's go to Options. And I'm just going to kind of run this one more time just for you guys to see, again, the completed work that we've done. So on this, we'll go to Carbon, Save. I'm going to go ahead and run this probably multiple times. We'll just do, let's just do like 4 of them this time around, okay, guys? So there's 4 of those, and then let's run one server to be able to get them all connected up. Okay, so now then, we should have 4 of these running. So inside of these, I'm going to name them all something different. So this will be Jimmy, Daniel, Ray, and then this will be, I don't know, Lydia or something, I don't know. So I'm going to connect these all out of random order here. So as you can see, they're all connected, right? So I want to right click on this one and I want to send to all clients. So if you'll pay attention really carefully over here, you'll see that all of them are going to receive the message at the same time. So I'm going to send hello to all clients. Boom. They all got it at the same time. How cool is that, right? So let's select Daniel. So focus on this one right here, guys. This is Daniel, right? I'm going to right click on Daniel and I'm going to send only to him. And it says hello just to you, Daniel, right? So that works good. I'm going to go Jimmy and send only to him. And as you can see, hello just to you. Okay, so we know that everything works great. Now I'm going to disconnect Daniel. And as you can see, Daniel goes bye-bye. And then if I disconnect Jimmy, so Jimmy's in the middle, so bye-bye Jimmy. Ray and Lydia are still online. This is Ray. This is Lydia. So I'm going to disconnect Ray first. Lydia still remains. I'm going to close out Lydia. And there you have it. Perfect. Absolute perfection. And in a fraction of the time that other languages would take you to do it in as well. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope I explained everything and I hope I made this video to your liking. If you need me to, I can do many more advanced tutorials for streaming audio, video, transferring files, etc., etc. If you guys want me to do this, please let me know in the description, or in the comment section rather, and I will be more than happy to help you out where you need me to. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.